funding is always going to be a thing, isn't it? Talking about carrying David and having 9 days to put a show on, it's just insane. It's a weird one because I used to hate taking a bow on stage. I used to hate that bit of it because it's just
Yeah.
who I am. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it's taken a while for it to be drummed into me that people say, yeah, but that is part of the night out. People want to give you a round of applause. It's not like they're going, oh, you're standing up there wanting a round of applause. They know they want to tell
Yeah.
you. I think if I hadn't got into the arts and kind of made a living out of it, then I might not be here.
Hi there, welcome to Street Level Stories. I'm really delighted to have Micky Cochrane on today. Hi Micky, nice to have you on.
Hello. You all right?
Yes, I'm not bad, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Right, so what we'll do is we'll just jump straight into it. Conversation will just flow. There's a few questions I've got in case the conversation starts to die, just put in a different direction, but it's ultimately just going to be just a proper chat between two Northeast blokes. Simple as that.
Nice one.
So I sent you a few questions beforehand on a little survey just to get a feel, get a steer for where I wanted to go. But the one I like to start with everyone is it's meant to be a really easy question, but depending on how you take it, it might be really hard. It's who is Micky Cochrane?
Ha! But it is a good question, and I kind of do tend to find this quite hard. I feel like I'm still searching in a way. I've done quite a few different things over the years, and I think I'm getting there. I mean, I'm a middle-aged man, but I still feel like I'm a kid in an adult's world. And I feel like even when I left school, I didn't really adapt to the adult world and things like that. You know what I mean? I'm still a kid at heart. I like using imagination. I like play. I like talking to people. I like creating, all of that sort of stuff. So sometimes I'm not quite sure, but what I do know is I've come a long way in my chosen field now, and also over the last few years, I have a kid. I remember getting married, and I thought that was such a grown-up thing. Getting a mortgage, that's a grown-up thing.
Yeah.
It's like I am kind of adapting to these things that we do, but I'm still, it still baffles me some of the things and the society we have and the setup that we have. So I don't know. I would say that I'm a laid back person. I'm a friendly person. I love working with people. I love doing new stuff. I've never liked to be tied down to one job. I like to move around to different places. So yeah, I would see myself as creative, and I think everyone is creative. Sometimes I can just seem like it's a general sort of thing, but it's known that you're allowed to be that, and that's how you should, or that's how you can live your life every day. So yeah. That could easily be a one sentence answer, but but it is harder than you think. It's hard to talk about yourself, but yeah, I'm still striving, but I think I'm learning more about myself every day, I think.
No, that's brilliant. I always like to describe myself as forever unfinished.
Yeah.
There's always somewhere to go. There's always something to
Mm.
do. There's always some way you can improve as well, isn't there? So
Yeah.
I always look for those moments where I'm quite a big on reflection. I'll reflect a lot, and I'll sit there and I'll go, oh, should I have said that? Should I have done this differently? But as I've gotten a little bit older, I've kind of gotten to the stage where life's too short just to sit there at the end and wonder, oh, what have I done this? What have I done that? I'd rather just do it.
Yeah.
And I agree, everyone is creative in their own way, but I sometimes feel that because of, like you say, all the grown-up stuff, we're all kids at heart. We're all just playing a big game of being an adult. And you say getting the mortgage, having the kids, getting married. It's almost like society forces you in that direction to prove that there you are a grown up now. You've done all these things, but I think sometimes creativity is kind of squashed a little bit in some people,
Absolutely.
especially in some industries. And
Absolutely.
it's such a shame because you see, I mean, my kids are a little bit older now, but I used to watch them play and just go, like, when did you lose that little bit of magic, that little spark in your eye when you saw something and just thought, I can make anything out of that? Do you know what I mean? And it's just,
Yeah. I think it's really interesting actually because my boy is 6 years old. He'll be 7 in January,
mm,
and I part of my everyday experience is watching him and watching what he is like. And I've just finished actually. I did some work at Newcastle College with some students, like sort of 16, 17, 18, and they are performance drama students. And we produced a show. It was their writing. We give them the ideas and we give them tips on acting and drama and directing and things like that. But at the end of the day, they had to get up there and do their own work. And a lot of the time, and I get it, everyone's different, but there would be a lot of baggage brought into the room.
mm,
And I
yeah.
would say it's fine. It's fine to have that. But also realize that you're in a space where you can use your imagination and this is what you can do and you can be creative and it's not you're not out in in the general public where everyone is being told you've got to get to work and do this and live under a rigid system. This is where you can forget about everything else and really learn. And I was talking about my son and I was like saying he is still at that age where none of that matters to him. It's all about imagination. It's all about play. It's all about making things up. And we are creative beings. That's what we're here for. We have this consciousness and we have this imagination. But I know myself. I'm a classic example of this. You come from a certain area, and people would see you as a certain sort of person, and you're not almost not meant to do it. So I was saying to the students, I was saying, look, you're in this great position where you can create something from nothing. And how brilliant is that? And there's no right or wrong. You just get to a point where that's what you want to do. And it was almost like I felt like some sort of American drama, Dawson's Creek type moment where I was this wise sage. Well, I was just looking at my kid that morning and I was saying, look, he is not thinking about anything else apart from what his imagination is doing. And he's going to school and he's doing all of that, but he's learning. And then at some point we switch that off. But I think it's a massive shame that that happens.
Oh, I completely agree. It's like unfiltered brilliance in children.
Mm.
It's just they don't care who's looking at them. They don't care if they seem silly. They're just doing what they want to do. And I think, to be honest, that's quite a respectable way to live. If
Mm.
you're doing
Mm.
what makes you happy, then who's anyone else to judge you? Uh,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
so
absolutely.
I completely agree. When I see when I
Mm.
like I say kids are a little bit older now, but when I used to watch them, I used to sit there and go like, "Oh, do you know what? Fair play. You dance around in the rain and jump in puddles and make an absolute fool of yourself while
Mm.
I stand
Mm.
here with the brolly in
Mm.
sensible shoes, going, oh, you're gonna get wet. You're gonna get wet. Like,
Mm.
so what? Kids are waterproof. Do you know what I mean? They'll be fine. So I
I
always
do
think,
know it's good because I kind of use them now as um, it's a real outlet for me. But I love it anyway, and I just love playing. I mean, I'm still that person who walks along the street and is bowling a cricket ball or is kicking something or is doing. I'm still that person, and
yeah.
sometimes I try to, and I think I've to my detriment over the years, I stopped myself from doing these things, and I'm like, no, that's me. That's it's fine. It's absolutely fine to be like that. But I've sometimes done a play or something that's been really, really heavy material and something that sticks in your mind and weighs heavy with you. And then I walk my kid to school in the morning and I just watch him and I'm like, that's what life is all about, you know, there to be enjoyed.
Without a doubt. I mean, obviously your background in general, from what I've looked at, seems to be that you predominantly have always been creative in some way or sense.
Yeah.
And it seems to fit with your description of being that childlike, imaginative person still at your core.
Mm.
Um, do you think you've always been a creative person? And then what was the one moment that changed for you to really go like, this is the direction that I'm going in?
Yeah, I mean, from a very young age, it's funny. I was really good at sport, and I was really good at performance, and they don't always come hand in hand.
No, they don't.
So I was, I when I was younger, and even in adulthood as well, I used to think that I was thick because I couldn't concentrate on certain things. I couldn't
Mm.
concentrate on your science and your maths and all of that sort of stuff. And it's not to say that I couldn't do it, but for me, it weighed me down. It bogged me down too much. but from a very early age, I was playing football, and I was the youngest lad to ever play for the junior team at my school. I used to just something that just came seemed to come naturally to me. And then the other thing was performance. So I'd be in every school show. I would be. I'd always want to be singing. I'd always want to be acting. It just was just something that I did, and it just seemed pretty straightforward to me. And that carried on right through primary school and into comprehensive school, and I would still be in the plays. But as you get older, you become more self-aware and you become more aware of what people are saying to you. And I still remember I was doing Gregory's Girl, so I was playing Gregory at school, and I was captain of the football team as well. I was captain of the cricket team. Weirdly enough, I was just one of those people who was could just pick a sport up, could just
Yeah,
be good at it. And I know that I annoyed the hell out of people because I would play cricket once and say, "Oh, you're the captain," and it's like people would be annoyed, but it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. I was just like, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just good at this." Plenty of other stuff that I'm rubbish at, but I can do this, And it was probably around about 14, 15 that I became really aware of, ooh, people think I'm a bit weird, or lads would think I was a bit weird. What, you play football but you're doing that? And at my at school there wasn't many people who were into drama. There wasn't many people who were into performing and stuff like that. But I did it, and I got an A for drama at school. And I think I might have been the only person in the year who got an A for drama. I just loved it. And but then when I left school, I thought I had to get a proper job, or I thought I was going to be a footballer or something in the sports industry. And I remember my old teachers used to say, I'd walk past them in the street. We've got a drama club on tonight. Will you come along? And I'd be like, because everyone gets to that age and then they're proper blokes and they talk a bit like that. And I'd be like, no, no, that's not for me. That's not for me.
Yeah, yeah,
And I had that, silly little sort of image in my head of this is what posh people do. This is what people with money do. People who talk proper do. And so I didn't do anything for years, but I did when I was very young. Join a band with my brother and my cousin, and so I was still always doing something. There was never a point in my life where I wasn't doing anything to do with performance. Um, but it took a long time for me to get my head around. Well, this is what I could do for a living, and I had a series of. I had courses that I didn't finish. I did a leisure studies course, which was one of the most boring things I've ever done in my life. But I just thought I've got to get a qualification. Couldn't finish it because I wasn't interested in it. And then I did weird jobs like testing fire alarms and digging holes in roads and stuff. But I just knew it wasn't me. I never wanted to do that. And I was struggling for a long, long time, and didn't have any work. And it was my mother, bless her, who said, "You always loved doing that. Why don't you give it a try?" And I was like, finally, it was almost like I had run out of options. And if I didn't do it, I don't know where I'd be. And I'm not being dramatic about it. I think if I hadn't got into the arts and kind of made a living out of it, then I might not be here because I was completely lost, absolutely lost, and it really really got to me. And so I went into the summer school. I still remember this summer school at Newcastle College, the old Newcastle College, and I was working at a warehouse up near the airport doing night shift, and I would do the night shift, and I would come in, and then I would do like a bit of drama through the day, and at the end of the 4 week sort of course, you did a performance, and that was over the summer. I was shattered. I used to, on the lunch break. There was this like a sofa there. I'd get on the sofa and I'd sleep for an hour, and then I'd get wake up and do a bit more. Um, so I did that, and we did the performance at the end of it, and I was just like, yeah, I love doing this. It just seemed to be quite a natural thing to do, and so from there, I applied for the degree at Northumbria Uni. So in the space of a few months, I had just gone from not knowing what the hell I was doing to all of a sudden being on a course. And I was still doing night shift. I did night shift, and I came in to do the audition for the course. You had to do a monologue and sing a song and all that. And on the very same day, I got accepted to the course, and I was like, oh, okay.
pretty
And I
good.
was like, all of a sudden, I was on a course, and I was like, how the hell did that happen? And I almost quit the course as well because I was behind. Like people had done A
Yeah.
levels, they'd studied, and I'd missed out on all of that. So I felt like I was behind everybody else, and that made me think, oh yeah, I don't really get it, and I nearly quit. And the course leader said, Mickey, just stick with it. I guarantee you'll get something out of it. And as it went on, I could see that it wasn't all about analysing. Sometimes it was just about instinct, and I had really good instinct. And as we progressed into the second and third year, I just became a really, really confident performer. So much so that by the end of it, I was the only one that got picked up by an agent off that course. Which, if you said that to me at the start, I would have said absolutely no chance. So it was a long road, but it was like my mother's intervention of, you love doing it, just give it a go. So I did, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we don't. I think sometimes the best opportunities come when you're not looking for them, don't they?
Mm.
And they just come out of nowhere because that's just how life works.
Yeah,
And what I find really interesting is I like the little the nuances of people's stories. So like that, it was you went on, you went to a summer school because you had no other option. Of the support of your mom, and she gave you the little go on, get your
mm,
backside in there.
mm,
And it's those tiny little forks on the road every given turn, every single moment of every day, there's two little forks, and you choose one, and then it's mad to think that that one little fork in another direction could have led to something else, and you've went off and
yeah,
always.
yeah,
It's just that one moment, isn't it? That one
mm,
moment that defines it, and obviously you're in a great position now. So
mm,
I mean, I love the theatre. I've always loved the theatre, but my mum got me into it. I used to sit there and go like, I don't want to go and see a show. Like, all my friends, when my mates used to say, what are you doing tonight? Nothing. Nothing. I wouldn't tell them. I was just like, "Nothing. I'm not doing anything. Can you play out?
yeah,
No. Why? You're not doing anything." And I was just like, got to go and see my grandma or something like that. Like, there would be loads of excuses because I would sit there
yeah,
similar to yourself and think, I shouldn't be here. Like
mm, mm,
this isn't normal for people my age to be here because you're always surrounded by like old ladies and
mm,
what you would consider grown-ups when they were probably just in their 30s. You know what I mean? And you were sitting there and you were like, I don't belong here. But my penchant is musicals, which sounds
yeah,
really weird to say. I love a good musical.
mm,
Anything where
mm,
there's an earworm, good song, good catchy
yeah,
songs. We take the kids to musical all the time and stage
yeah, yeah,
shows
yeah,
and things like that. That wouldn't have happened without, and that love for everything to do with the theatre and stuff wouldn't have come without that. When I used to sit there and go, oh, I don't want to go and see that. I don't want to go and see Shakespeare. My mum would be like, well, I don't really care. I've bought the tickets. You're coming.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. And then you'd sit there at the end, you'd clap and go, what a fantastic performance. And
mm, mm,
I think there is a lot of people who have this, especially theatre, have this preconception of what it is and what you have to be to go there and what kind of,
mm.
everyone should be in theatre. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's true, it's true, and the like the it's almost like the holy grail, especially when you're putting theatre on or you're trying to get funding or whatever. It's about
Yeah.
trying to get people to come to see theatre who wouldn't. And so on the flip side of me saying, when I was at school, I would get a few little remarks, but then I would take it on myself and I would think, oh yeah, I shouldn't be doing this. But when I do stuff now, and people from the village where I'm from or from school or wherever come to see it,
Yeah.
and they see the magic of it, they're blown away by it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I know there are people probably in my family who would never have gone to see theatre if I hadn't done it and been in it, and who now go and see shows off their own backs, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a kind of like, it seems like it's such a weird and wonderful sort of thing that's unobtainable because everyone has the impression that, if you're not on TV or if you're not in a West End musical, you're not really an actor. And then they come and see it and they're blown away by it and they want to ask you questions. I mean, I remember doing Carrie and David in Northern Ireland, and we invited a few boxing clubs to come and see it. And I remember walking on, I think we were in County Antrim, and I walked on stage, and right across the two rows in the middle of the audience were just a bunch of teenagers who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. And as I sat down, I was like, whoa, this is going to be a long night. This is going to be a struggle. And then at the end of it, we couldn't get rid of them, and none of them had been to the theatre, or one or two had seen a pantomime. But for 45 minutes until somebody said, "Oh yeah, we better go." They questioned everything. How did we do that? Where did that idea come from? And they were amazed by it. And I just thought, isn't that brilliant? Because you will get people who come to see theatre all the time who will have opinions and all of these, who might be helpful critics or whatever. But these kids were just blown away by what they'd seen on stage, and it just opened something up in their minds. You could see it, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it's about.
I mean, it is. I completely agree. We went recently, one show we went to see recently was we got my daughter tickets for her 11th birthday to go and see Mary Poppins at the Sunderland Empire. And yeah, love a musical. I'm not being, I had a bit on that week and I was thinking in my head, I've got loads to do. Could I think of something I'd rather be doing? And that sounded awful, but I was just like, it's for her birthday, we'll go, blah, blah. And we went there, and I kid you not, for pure stage performance in terms of the special effects, all the stuff going on behind the scene, it was absolutely fantastic. And even then, even as a 35-year-old bloke, I sat there and I was like, sat there watching them do stuff, and I went, how the hell did they do that? I was like, sat there, it was like a magic show for a child. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
how did they do that? That's brilliant. Like, they had this gigantic clown where the toys were coming to life in the song, and they had this huge clown come over the top of the house. It was massive, massive. And it come over and like the whole audience went like that. Everyone took in a breath because this gigantic clown came out of nowhere, and it was like the hands were bigger than people. It was huge. And then there's a part where Bert tap dances up the wall, along the ceiling, and down the other wall. Obviously, it's just on wires, but you don't see them. You're in the magic of it, and you're just like that. You got to the end, and me and the kids looked at each other, and I went, "That was bloody brilliant!" That, and I was just like,
Yeah.
"How did they do that?" Like,
And
it
they're
was
all
just,
really happy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone looked. There was loads of people there. There was a little boy behind us, and I'd heard the mom say like, "Oh, you enjoying it all the way through?" And I think it was one of his first performances. He literally could not take his eyes off that stage.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
could. Nothing was bothering him. He was like, he was waving his hand. He was just staring at the stage like that. He was like captivated, and I just thought, you know what? How beautiful is that? Just to be
Yeah. Yeah.
so purely captivated by something that you're watching. And I just honestly, I think more people need to get into it. I think it's one of the best places in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, one of the things you mentioned there, you mentioned very briefly there that you were in a band with your brother, and it was This Ground Moves. Is that right? It was called.
Yeah, so we were called the Soviets at first,
Mm,
but we were actually in an earlier band. So like we were in a band with our cousin as well years
mm.
before that, and it's really weird. We were called Hay Fever, which look and sounds really cool, and then people will say, "Well, yeah, that's just that horrible thing you get in the summer." But so we'd already done that, but it was really strange that I remember Stephen picking up the guitar and kind of out of nowhere, really. And I was like, what's he doing? And then he just started. He was always a very, very intelligent boy, and then he was just writing these songs, and it was just like they were so good. Um, and then we finished with that, and then a few years later, we started doing acoustic gigs, me and Stephen around town, and
Mm.
then you just start meeting people who are they like the music, and then shall we form bands and all of that sort of stuff. So we were the Soviets at first, but our first ever performance in that sort of second iteration of the band was at the City Hall.
Right. Okay. Oh, so just a small
For
venue then.
yeah, for Sunday for Sammy. So
Brilliant.
we had there was me, Stephen, a lead guitarist called Andy Mackin who used to play with everyone around the bars and stuff. So there was a whole acoustic scene, and he kind of used to join in with us a bit, and we were like, we should form a band, and then we didn't really have any equipment for PA systems and all that sort of stuff. So I knew about Sunday for Sammy, so I said, oh, we should apply. Let's apply for that. So me and Stephen went along, and we did an audition in front of Tim Healy and Ray Laidlaw and all the panel and stuff, and we
Yeah.
sang. I think we sang 2 songs, and then we got a message saying we'd like to give you the money for the PA, but also would like to have you on the lineup for Sunday for Sammy. And we were like, brilliant. and they said, "Have you got a band yet?" Because we were talking about we wanted to get the band together, but we
Mm.
wanted to have equipment to be able to practice and stuff. And they said, "If you haven't got the band, we can back you. And, Ray can play on the drums and all of that." And we were like, "No, no, no. We'll get a band. We'll get our own
Yeah, yeah.
band." So we borrowed a bass player from another band, and Andy knew a young drummer who he came along, and so we basically Stephen had written this song called "All the People Want Is a Wage." So we rehearsed it, and then the first time we played it and played as a band was on in front of 2,000 people. And I think at that stage we were called the Known World because we just had to make a name up. We didn't have anything. We're like, oh, the Known World. Oh, that's pretty good, great. So we were like announced as the Known World. And so then we were a band, and we were off and running, and we called ourselves the Soviets because we were looking into the early, like, who are we representing here? It was a little bit of political stuff in there, and I looked into the early meaning of the Soviets and all that, so we called ourselves the Soviets. And then it kind of grew a bit, and we got to a fairly, we weren't Sam Fender sort of status by any means, but we were doing good gigs. We were playing
Yeah.
with big bands, uh, and then we had some interest in America, and we got a couple of songs played on like sort of on TV programs. CSI New York was one of them, and we were kind of told that if you want to pursue this, you can't be called the Soviets. It's
Not in
not going to
America.
work. It's not going to work. So we were like, all right, okay, what do we do? And I think one of the worst things about being in a band is trying to come up with a name because it just drives you mad. And if there's five of you, you'll be coming up with something that you think is good, and then somebody will come up with a reason to say it's not very good. And then we'd done a gig where I can't remember where the venue was, but we were upstairs and there was that many people there jumping up and down that the ground was moving, and somebody did a review to say the ground moved, and then Stephen said, "What about this ground moves?" And we were like, "Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool." So we did that, yeah, and we made an album, and not long after that we split up. But it was good while it lasted, and every now and then we still get together and do a gig. It's great.
That's good that you score. But I mean, I was funny enough. I think it was oh, was it called "You Are Not the End of the World"? I think that was your album, wasn't it? I was listening to it weirdly enough as I was writing the notes. I was just, I wonder if it's on Spotify, and I had a little,
Yeah.
I had a little neb on, and then I was like, oh, it is. I went, oh, what the hell? I'm sitting here writing. I might as well stick it on the background. I found myself like, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I was just, I went, I would have seen these, yeah.
You know what it
But
is? We made that album as well, and we're really, really proud of it. But we were always like, it was the live thing
mm,
that was, we were quite a big band with a big sound, and it's almost like on the album it doesn't quite catch the sort of rawness and the liveness of it. I think it's great, and the songs are great, but we played with some massive bands, and when we did, it was always like we matched these, for the energy of the performance and stuff like that. But I do still get people who say now, "Oh, I'm just listening to the album," like 10 years later or something. It's like it's just something that's
probably
always
quite
there.
nice, hasn't it? It's quite
It
nice.
is, it is, and you know what? I'm in a covers band now, and we're doing indie songs and things, and it's great, and you can get a bit of money doing that. There's definitely a circuit for it, but there's nothing like performing your own songs and people singing them back to you. That's a great
I can,
feeling.
I can imagine that is a great feeling, and I would imagine
Yeah,
as well with the album, you're saying it doesn't quite capture the essence of a live performance. But I think that's the same with most music, and
yeah,
an album doesn't really capture it properly until you see it, and then you're just like.
yeah.
So I've got to ask you, what was your first concert? Your first concert, like that, as a person attending. What was your first band that you
As a
saw?
person, oh
Yeah,
God, how long ago was that? Um, I think it's that long ago. It could have been the Happy Mondays when I was very young. Yeah,
great
and then
option.
sorry.
That was a great choice to go and see the
Well,
Happy Mondays.
I would still go to see them now. You know what I mean? Sean Ryder was doing it. He was doing a talking at the Queen's Arts Centre, Queen's Hall, whatever it's called in Hexham, and I couldn't go that night, and I was gutted because I'm just fascinated by those people and the chaos around them and stuff. You know what I mean? And it's that type of. I think that's why I really think about the live sound because they would be chaotic. that sort of thing would be like really, really chaotic. But that's what's really interesting about it. It's just like, wow, it's in front of you. But it's like theatre and film. I do like doing screen stuff, but I love watching theatre or being in it. It's like the students I've just worked with and all that, and talking about making a mistake or dropping something. It's like nobody knows, and it's the liveness of that moment. How do you get through it, and how you react in the moment that makes it so magic. So yeah, I love that sort of chaotic band. You know what I mean? I think I kind of got in. It's really weird that the phases you go through as well, because I did like sort of kind of grunge and stuff as well, but I love the British bands that did something. You know what I mean? And I love dance music as well. It's do you know when people say, "Oh, that's not my cup of tea,"
Mm,
and I always go, "How do you know? You're completely dismissing a
yeah,
whole genre where you might find something amazing." But by just going, "That's not my cup of tea," it's like that doesn't mean you have to be into every band that does that
yeah, yeah,
music. There's even pop bands that you would enjoy that you would think, "Oh, that's not up my street." But if they do it
yeah.
well, you know what I
I
mean?
mean, yeah, you come across music sometimes that you think that's not really my scene, but the music's all right. Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I would say that I'm pretty eclectic when it comes to music. I'll listen to anything. I really like country music. But one of the things that I'd say there's probably two types of music that I just can't get into. I've listened to loads of it. It's there's heavy metal. Heavy metal's just not
yeah,
for me.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
too much. And then there's
Yes,
also like um like house and trance music. It all just
yeah.
sounds the same to me. I can't. I just can't get into it. I'd rather sit and listen to some country music than listen to like
Yeah.
that's just
Well, you
much
see,
more
you
my
say
vibe.
yeah, you say heavy metal, and I would be the same. I would think I've never really got into heavy metal, but I
Yeah.
would say there's a couple of bands that I would listen to it and go, God, they've got some good tunes. I guess it's probably when it goes too far and it's just thrashing away, and you're like, yeah, I'm not interested in this.
I think that's the beautiful thing about music, though, and about arts in general, is that you don't have to all like the same stuff. There's something for everyone,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's what makes it interesting. It would be boring if everyone liked the same stuff.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so no, I really, I mean, I feel weird saying this out loud, but I feel a little bit better now that you said yours was Happy Monday. My first concert was I went to with my dad, and he took us to see The Darkness.
All right. Yes,
That was
yes.
my first ever, and
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
heard that music a bit in the car because he's really into like rock music and stuff like that,
yeah,
and that's what always used to be on in the car. So I
yeah, yeah.
like rock music because that's all I really listened to growing up in the car with him. And then he went, "Oh, you're coming with us to see The Darkness," and I was like, "Is that guy with the girl voice?" Like I was like the one with the really high pitched voice. He went, "Yeah, yeah, you'll be fine. Come on." And we went to the Metro Radio Arena to watch him. And you know what? I went to school the next day. They were like, "Oh, what did you do last night?" I went to see The Darkness, and they were like, "Well, the guy who screams." I'm like, "Yeah, it was mint." Like, you stood there and you were like, the songs you remember, you knew all this, you
Yeah,
knew loads of the songs, and you were singing along, and then you just kind of got lost in the moment of the music,
yeah, yeah.
and then. I mean, it would definitely went downhill from there because my next band that I went to see was the Pussycat Dolls. Because they were playing at the Metro Radio Arena, there was cheap tickets, and me and my friend, in our infinite wisdom, said, "Do you know who'll be going to the Pussycat Dolls? There'd be loads of good-looking girls going to the Pussycat Dolls. If we go there, we didn't feel, and there was no way we would get some luck and just meet these beautiful women and beautiful girls by going to the concert. We were like, there's no downside to this plan. The only downside was there was a few people who were hanging around outside to take the mick out of the people who were going, and we got seen, and then we just got loads of stick at school for going to see them. So yeah, it just my musical history just really went off a cliff.
But
But
you mentioned in the darkness as well, and I would say I wouldn't have been into the darkness.
mm,
But then I see the lead singer, and I see what a great musician he is, and I really enjoy what he says about music. And I'm pretty sure the first drummer we had in the Soviets, this guy moves. I'm sure he played drums on a tour with them, or did the sound for them. That he knows them pretty well, and me and him had a chat, and I was like, "Oh, what's he like?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's great." Because he's got that. Is it Justin Hawkins?
yes,
He's
yeah,
got that. He's got that channel on YouTube, hasn't he? Justin
yeah, I think he
Hawkins
does.
Rise
Yeah.
Again. I love it.
See, I
Love it.
think you don't have to like a style of music to appreciate the ability someone has. Like, there's
Hmm?
loads of pop stars now. Like my kids, I've got two girls, so they just like loads of weird stuff that I listen to and I think, oh God, what is this? But you still have to sit there and appreciate like that person has a fantastic set of pipes on them. They can really hit those notes. Like you have to
Yeah.
appreciate the skill. I don't have to
Yes.
appreciate the music, but you can appreciate the skill that
Yeah,
someone has.
yeah. It's the skill
Um,
and the commitment as well to be that good. That I think I'm saying that's something that blows my mind, and you get that sometimes when you see a good musical as well. It's like wow, that is some ability, but also the hours to be that good, and the maintenance of your voice and all of that. It's yeah, it blows me away. That
well, I always think the same with football, to be honest. I try and not give too much criticism, to be honest, when players aren't playing well or anything like that. Like for years ago, when Newcastle had Mike Williamson, I used to sit there and go, how
yeah,
on God's green earth did he become a footballer? Blah, blah.
yeah.
And then when you think about it and you get a little bit older, like I'm a little bit longer in the tooth now, and I look at it and I go, do you know what? Like I saw him outside of football once and he was it. He was, must have been one of the things through the foundation that he was doing. He was it. Westcott at the courts, and there was some kids and he was reffing one of their games, and he randomly got involved. Like the ball came to him. He did these little step overs, little nutmegs. The kids were like 7, 8 years old and he was getting it through the legs. He skinned all of them and just popped it in the net. And you just looked and you went, how can you not move that way on a pitch on a Saturday? But you know, you were giving all of a stick and he took it really well. But you watch them and you just think like, I used to play with a lad in school who was in the academy. And he used to play up front for the school because it was just, he was shooting from 50 yards. It
Yeah,
was
hit
going
the
in the top
ball.
corner.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was untouchable, untouchable.
yes,
When I found out he was in the academy, I was just like, oh, that's mint. I was like, where do you play? And he went, oh, centre defence. And I went, you don't play that for the school? And he went, well, yeah, because I'm with better players at the academy. And I was like, all right, okay. And then you'd watch them, and then he got let go. And I used to sit there and watch him in football and PE and go, I would pay any amount of money to be able to do what he can do with a football.
yeah,
And he's
yeah,
getting let go from the academy. And then he went to a couple of clubs in Sweden and stuff like that when he was a little bit older. But I used to watch him and it was that's when it really clicked about levels.
yes,
And it
yes, yeah.
was just like, with the footballers, I was just like, you have to appreciate that to get to the very, very pinnacle at the top of the game, you have to be an absolutely elite footballer. And sometimes you see them and go, oh, how's he become a footballer? And you're just like, no, they're still better than 99% of the planet at
Yeah,
the sport.
and some of it is the mindset, isn't it? If
Yeah,
you've
it is,
got to
yeah.
be tough. I remember when I was really good when I was young,
Mm,
very good. When it got to a point where it became competitive, that's when my mind kind of went because I just love playing. But then it comes to a moment where scouts are there and there's a trial and all of that sort of stuff. And it used to be, then you'd be almost competitive with your own teammates. And I just didn't like that. I didn't have that edge. So I just kind of, I fell backwards from it. But I know what you mean. You see players who are like really, really good and then they get to a level and then they don't quite make it. And it could be a physical thing, a skill thing, or a mental thing. But you've got to probably have all of those things. Like even like a Ronaldo now, to see the training that he still puts in, to be that good and to still be doing it, it's just out of this world, isn't it?
yeah, it's commitment. It's commitment. Some people just don't have it.
Mm.
You have to
Yeah.
be committed to get to the top of
Mm.
what you want to do. And
Mm.
I mean, the thing about you're saying about mentality and stuff like that, and that's so important. And I think that's the same in anything you do. Mentality
Mm.
plays a huge part. You can be not the best at something, but if you're the most mentally strong, you can
Yeah.
still succeed. And
Mm.
you mentioned that obviously you'd done the band, you did your album, you were really excited about it. As something happens with bands, the band folded. What was the next step from there? So you've made this creative name for yourself. You've gotten yourself
Yeah.
out there. You've had the band. You've had the little bit of success, and then you've went, what do I do now? Like what's
Yeah.
next?
Well, I mean, we so I was already professional actor when we did that band as well. So I was doing things, but
Hmm.
I still, even when I became a professional actor, I didn't used to call myself an actor. I still had that hangover,
Yeah.
that chip on my shoulder. If somebody asked me what I did, I would say, "Oh, sometimes I do a bit of acting." I
Hmm.
mean, I remember I didn't join Equity for a few years because it was almost like I thought, "Oh, you need to be on Coronation Street or be on TV to do that."
Yeah.
And now, Equity is amazing. You know what I mean? Because they will come and look after you and ask you if you're being treated well and stuff like that. And they are the union you can get in touch with if things are going wrong. But for a long time, I would I would still struggle with being an actor. And if I came up against people who had been in the business for a while or had been to a top drama school or whatever, that I kind of let that intimidate me,
Yeah.
and I kind of for quite a long time I lost my voice, and I would just go in there and I would do the job, and I had ideas, but I would just keep them to myself. And I think when the band split up, I probably wasn't doing as much acting work as I had previously. You know, I'd worked at live theatre and done some great shows and worked with some really good actors, but I could never let the shackles off in a way. Um, and then that's when your mental health starts to play tricks on you as well. You know, if you've got anxiety and all of these things, and it's really hard being in this industry, because any any so-called failure or any rejection is just going to be 10 times worse. But I got to a point where I thought, and people used to say this to me, so you know, you'd get down about it, but they used to say, yeah, and you know, if you need help and all of that, all of these things, it's fine. But if nobody knows you're there and they can't see you, they're not going to just be going, oh, I wonder where Mickey is. Wonder if he wants to do a play. You have to be seen. And I don't mean that kind of over the top, you know, brown nose and going around everyone and going, oh, I think you're amazing. But being there, and if you see something, commenting on it. You know what I mean? I used to struggle with the after show stuff as well. So I would love being in a play, but all I wanted to do when I finished the show was just sit there with a few people and drink a pint and
Yeah.
just decompress.
Yeah.
Where some people could still keep the performance going and go and talk to the important directors and do all that sort of stuff, you know, and I couldn't do that. It just wasn't part of my makeup. But I found as the years went on that just going out and doing a workshop or going out and seeing something and you know, just commenting on it, or going doing a little bit more training or whatever, and just being around the theatres was really, really important. Because I remember I got cast in something, and the director said, he said, you know what, Mickey, you know why I cast you? He said, I saw you at the theatre watching a show, and I hadn't seen you for a couple of years, and I thought maybe you weren't doing it anymore. So I saw you and thought, I wonder if Mickey wants to do this role. And I was like, God, it's so important. And I keep saying it to the Gateshead students that I've just worked with. I was like,
Mm.
you know, there's this thing when you're young that you think you want to be in Hollywood or be in a West End musical or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not saying don't do it, but statistically, not many of you will. And your bread and butter is going to be around these theatres in the northeast. And please go and see things. Please go and see things and just be present, because then they'll go, well, how do you get into it? How do you do it? And you're like, by being part of it. You can't just think, oh, I've got a qualification now, so I should be an actor. Because the truth is, nobody knows where you are, nobody knows who you are, and nobody's going to be picking up the phone to say, how are you? Do you want some work? You have to be involved in it and doing it. So I think kind of I took people's advice to just go out and try things and do workshops and go and see theatre, and it really helped. But I must admit, not doing the band kind of got to me because I loved doing that. I absolutely loved it, and it wasn't like it was to be huge or be in the charts or any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If these things, you know, I'm of a mind now that if these things come, that's a bonus and that's great. But it was just creating with your mates and
Yeah.
getting up there, and I knew we were good. I knew we were a really good band as well. So when that stops, it's and everyone goes off and does their normal jobs, but you're still a creative. It's like, oh, well, I haven't got a job to go to. You know what I mean? I have to do this. So there was like a little. It's almost like a period of mourning, because you spend all that time with people and then you're not really around them much anymore. Um, so I had to adapt, but I will try anything. I will
Mm.
try anything in the creative
Yeah.
field. And I went off and did stand up as well, and I did improv and all of these things, and it was scary, but I wanted to try it, so I did it. You know, I said yes to all these things, and I just, you know, sort of was head first sort of stuff.
I think stepping out your comfort zone is really important, especially at key points. There's certain times where it's just you're not sure where you're going to go. And sometimes, like, they're just getting yourself seen, stepping out of the comfort zone. And I think success is relative anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Success it means something very different to very
yeah.
different people. If you take
Mm,
people in the favelas in Brazil,
mm,
success might be, oh, well, I fed my family today. If you speak to
mm.
someone in London, success might be, oh, I'm the leading lady in a show. Success is, it's all relative. It's
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
you want to
yeah,
make of it. So yeah, I think that's really good advice for them, that they just need to, be realistic in what success, have a look at what success looks like. Like, to
yeah.
me, I would consider myself successful in the fact that I've got two children, I've got a beautiful wife, I'm in good health.
Mm, mm,
I've got a house. My kids are well provided for because, I've
mm.
worked hard for it. And I would consider myself, if people, when are you a success? I'd say yes,
Yeah, yeah.
because,
Mm,
that's just the beautiful life I've got around us. Why would I have any need
yeah,
not to
yeah.
be feeling successful? So I
Mm,
think um, it's really important to go out your comfort zone and do things.
mm.
Now, you said obviously you went and did a little bit of stand up, and then you've done probably one of the biggest things I think so far, other than your band, in terms of performance wise. I think probably Carrie and David, which you mentioned before, is one of the bigger things that you've done.
Yeah.
Um, and is it Ed Waff? Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
director. So how did Carrie and David come around then?
So yeah, so Ed Waff was the writer.
Right,
Russell
sorry, yeah.
Russell Floyd was the director, and I'd worked with Ed before a few years back, and in one of his earlier plays. So he was aware of me, and then I did a couple of evenings with him at performances. So Joe Wilson, "Keep Your Feet Still, Geordie Hinney," the song. He
Yeah, yeah.
wrote that. He was a music hall entertainer of the 19th century, huge in his day, like massive, massive performer in his day, but probably being a bit forgotten about now.
Mm.
But a few kind of, a small band of creatives who play the songs and do that sort of stuff. And Ed has very much over the last sort of 6, 7, 8 years, maybe a little bit longer, written stories about forgotten Northeasterners who were kind of big in the time but are not really spoken about now. So he did Hadaway Harry, which is about Harry Clasper the Rower, who was huge in his day. And his funeral, there was thousands of people there. And Geordie Ridley, people like these. And I did some stuff about Joe Wilson. First of all, Joe Wilson night on his birthday, singing all of the songs, and I compared it. And then there was a show about Joe Wilson, the great Joe Wilson. So I played Joe. So then his very next project was Carrie and David, and I remember I think he might have sounded out a couple of other actors. He says to me that I was the first choice, but I don't believe him, and I kind of remind him of that because those actors said to me, and they'd said to Ed, "No, you should get Mickey to do this. He'd be ideal."
Yeah.
Which I'm thankful for, because when you're an actor, sometimes you just think, "Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it." You don't really think about if you're the best person for the job, but they thought, Mickey would be ideal for that play. So I remember 2018, I met up with Ed and with Glenn McCrory, who the story is about, him and his brother. True story, obviously, first boxer from the Northeast to win a world title and stuff. So I met them in a bar, and it's funny now because I've become friends with Glenn, but I remember him sizing me up at the time, and just because he was still on the TV at the time and he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
doing Sky Sports and all of that, so he's looking me up and down and as if to say, "Who's that?" And he won't admit it, but I know it was happening. I could see it,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't blame him. I'm going to be playing him, so he's taking a good look at who this lad is. So yeah, it's one man's show, and they're having a chat about it, and where it's going to go and what we're going to do with it. And then I get the script, and money dictates everything, funding dictates everything. We had 9 days to put this one man show on, which is insane. And that includes the tech and dress rehearsal. And I remember when I got the script and I looked at it and I thought, how the hell am I going to do this?
Mm.
And the last scene of the play is the fight for the world championship. So there's just me and I have to create all of the imagery, and you have commentary coming in, but it's me describing the fight and how Glenn remembered it. So I'm doing punching, I'm doing the moves, I'm ducking, I'm getting hit, I'm saying what's happening, and and I remember in the script he goes back to the corner, he gets some water, and then da 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 da. And I remember saying to Ed, so we got somebody else doing this. How am I supposed to do this? And he was like, no, 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 it's just you. So I said, well, you said I'm taking water on. I've got gloves on. What am I supposed to do? And I take my hat off to the director Russell Floyd, because we didn't have much time at all. And Sammy I think he was about 3 months old at that point. So I had quite a disrupted life at the time, and not much sleep. And we had to work hard to get that show on, and he kind of dragged me through it a bit, because we didn't, each time we've come back to it, we've managed to pull more out of it,
Yeah.
but we were up against time,
Mm.
and all of a sudden we were just on doing the show. But I've done enough theatre to know when something is magic, and the story is magic. Although I'm kind of accepting it now, that there are people who are just blown away by it and blown away by the performance and stuff, and it's kind of why we keep coming back to it. And we played the Theatre Royal this summer, and I'm talking to a couple of producers in London to maybe take it down there and put it
Yeah.
on. There's a film being made of the story next year, in which I could be playing Glenn's dad. I wouldn't be playing Glenn, because in the play we see him, when his career is finished, and it's post career and stuff, and he's sitting with a whiskey and he's kind of chatting about life, and then all of a sudden we launch into the play. So it's something for me that I just, yeah, you do something, and you just think, and people have said it as well. This is as good as anything that's out there, and like Stuart from the Theatre Royal, who's been there for 20 years and does sound and stuff. He came up to me and he said, "That's one of the highlights of my career here. It's one of the best things I've seen." So you're like, yeah, we keep coming back to it, and then I have to get fit and train and all of that. But it's worth it in the end, because it's got everything. It's got absolutely everything. It's a wonderful human story with his brother David, who had this condition, Friedrich's ataxia, uh, and Glenn becoming a boxer and winning a world title was their shared dream. So we see it through both of their eyes. It's amazing. I hope I can do it again, and I hope I can take it even further.
I mean, it sounds like a beautiful story, to be honest. To be honest, when I was doing the research, and obviously I'd seen about Carrie and David, and even I wasn't 100% on the story. I knew the name, Glenn
Mm-hmm.
McCrory, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I didn't really know the story.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously looking into it as part of this, and I was just like, wow. Like I think I would have sat there, and I would have definitely been to see that show. So I think if
Yeah,
it does come on down
yeah,
London, if it goes on, I think I'll definitely come and see it, because it
yeah, yeah,
looks.
yeah.
And I think what makes it even more special is the fact that when you tell someone that a one man or a one woman show is going on, that is a really difficult sell to an audience,
Exactly, exactly.
because they are like, when you've got people coming off, people coming on, scene change and music change, like there's loads going on in a play to keep you engaged. For you as a sole individual to engage an audience through something where you are the only person there for a sustained period of time is what I would imagine to be very draining, very
Yes, it is.
gotta
Yeah,
be you've got to be switched on at every single moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The air can't come out of it. You've got to be on it the full time, and I think that's exactly what we said. It's a hard sell. In the Northeast, people know about it now, but it's a hard sell, because people just think it's about boxing, and some
Mm.
people might not like boxing, but also a one person show, and people are going to go, oh yeah, well that's going to be dull. And I remember when we did it in 2021, when I produced it, I brought it back after COVID, um, and we did it at the gala, and I came out afterwards, and I walked into the pub, and there was a guy outside, and he came up to me and he went, "My God, mate, that was amazing. That blew me away." And then he said, He said, I must admit, he said, my wife got 2 tickets and said, we're going to see this play. It's a one-man show. I thought it'd be shite, but it was great. I was like, I said, yeah, mate, I get it. I do. I get
Yeah, yeah.
it. And this is kind of the magic about it, because this time that we did it at the Theatre Royal, we managed to get a boxing ring for the first time. So we had this thing where we set the fight up and all the lights going off, and then I come into the music and all of the smoke is going off, and it's just magic. But you think about selling points and what can we bring in. And I remember somebody had said to me, "What if you bring somebody else in for the fight, or you do this and that?" It's like, no, actually,
Mm.
it's quite a hard sell, a one man show or one person show. But the magic of it is that one person creates this whole thing in front of you, and
More
you're if you're
powerful.
with that, yeah, if you're with that person,
Mm.
um, and you're conjuring up all of these different images, and you're talking to your brother who's not really there, but the audience think he is because he's in the moment with his brother, then that is the magic of this show. That is something that elevates it from just being a straight up drama to just something that is. And I'm lucky enough to get the opportunity to play it. What was hard for me when I was producing it is you talk to people, you do interviews, and they ask about the actor in it and the acting, and you have to go, "Oh yeah, well the actor's great, isn't he? And who's the actor? Oh, it's me." It's like, "Oh,
Uh,
well, you would say that," but the responses we've got and the reviews we got and just all of the personal messages and
mm.
social media messages is from people who are blown away because one person can do that. To them, that is a piece of magic. How can one person do that? To me, it's like, well, that's my job, but people are blown away by it, and so I know it's just something special.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, I read a review on it on Culture Northeast,
Mm,
and there was just one specific quote in it that I loved that kind of very
mm,
much summed it up, and it just went,
yeah.
"The best accommodation I can offer is that every time the actor took a sucker punch from his invisible opponent, people near him in the audience actually gasped. Now tell me that's not the mark of a show worth seeing." And I was just like,
Yeah.
it doesn't get much better than that, does it?
No,
Let's
no,
be
no.
honest. That's for being a one man show. That is it. That is it in a
Yeah,
nutshell, right
yeah,
there. You have captured the audience so much that someone who isn't there has took a
yeah,
swing at you,
yeah,
and you've taken that hit to someone that's not there, and they've gasped in just like they are so engrossed.
yeah.
And I just
I
think
admit, when I
hearing
first
that
saw it,
must
I
have been
thought,
amazing.
yeah, I thought, how are we going to sell this? But
Yeah.
luckily enough, like, when I was younger, I used to do a little bit of boxing, and there's parts of the play where he is a young man and he's talking about, oh, he's 14, 15, and he's talking about he's boxing Muhammad Ali, and I used to do all of that, and I used to do the
Yeah.
hits and that duck and all of that sort of stuff. And I think there would be a temptation if that was done maybe the first time you did it in a big theatre or with huge money and 4 or 5 weeks rehearsal, that somebody would bring a movement coach in and do something to it. And I'd be like, no, absolutely not. That has to look like a person who's really boxing, not stylized sort of, ooh, and move your body like that. You really has to look like he's being hit and that he's hitting someone. Because otherwise, you'll take somebody to a different realm. We've been dealing with this magically true story, and if the payoff looks like it's a stylized piece of theatre, it just won't be the same. And it was great. I mean, when I did it at Theatre Royal, it was like I almost thought that could have been the pinnacle of it, and that would be it. But I think we could take it anyway. We took it to Belfast. It's the best response that we've had for the show.
It's really
They
good.
went absolutely crazy for it, and the reviews that we got in Belfast are probably the best reviews we've had.
Mm.
It was just it could travel anywhere. It's a real human story, and you laugh and you cry, and it's everything that a piece of theatre should be, I think.
No, I think it's brilliant. I mean, taking, hearing those words and reading the accolades and stuff like that that you got, you spoke about at the very start that, when you were about 15, that's when you were
Mm.
starting to, which way do I go? Which way do I go? I shouldn't really, or only posh people do it. What do you think 15-year-old Mickey would think hearing all these words and these accolades about your performance?
Oh, I think 15-year-old Mickey would be like, just good on you and thanks. Thank you for doing this. I mean, like I was saying before, it's a weird one because I used to hate taking a bow on stage. I used to hate that bit of it because it's
Yeah.
just who I am, you know what I mean? And it's taken a while for it to be drummed into me that people say, yeah, but that is part of the night out. People want to give you a round of applause. It's not like they're going, oh, you're standing up there wanting a round of applause. They know they want to tell you
Yeah.
how much they enjoyed it, and that is part of it. So I think in a way, 15-year-old Mickey would thank me for going down that route.
Mm.
He'd be, good on you, good on you, because I'm still in there and I'm still doing it, and I'm still testing myself every year, and I'm more and more comfortable with who I am in the room, and I feel
Mm.
like I can help younger actors as well. That's great for me. I can give people advice. What now that I get in the room, I have so many opinions, and I've started directing pieces, and I love it. Absolutely love creating and painting these pictures. So 15-year-old Mickey, who was a bit, oh, but I'm a footballer and I'm from a working class village, would be like, God, well done, son, well done.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
mint. So one thing I just want to ask you as well is, so you've toured with the band, you've had all these experiences that there's a lot of people never will, or will
Mm.
never come close to having these experiences. You've been very lucky in certain
Yeah.
respects as well. And you were talking about, I didn't want to go out for bows on the stage. I think that kind of plays into the working class, humble kind of person that you are. Has that ever kind of felt a little bit in these moments of the applause and the accolades? Have you ever felt a little bit of like imposter syndrome? Like
Oh,
you sit there and you go, like, is this really from? Like, is this all for me? Do I belong here? Do
yeah,
you
oh
ever
yeah,
get moments?
yeah, yeah. I mean, the Belfast show when we did Carrie and David, uh, I was about 4 feet away from the audience,
Hmm.
and I remember the play finished, and it finishes on a real big sort of big moment, big laugh, and they all just got up in unison. The show always gets standing ovations, but sometimes it can be pockets of people standing up. Everyone just got up as one. And I remember there was a guy at the front shouting, Brava! Brava! And I couldn't look at him. I felt
Yeah.
embarrassed. I just started walking off the stage, and the writer was there, and he was like, Get back on that stage now. And I was
Hmm.
like, Okay. I got back out, and I took the bow again. And that was another place where the director came over to me in the dressing room, and he said, You got a bunch of people who want to meet you.
Hmm.
And I was like, All right, okay. I said, oh, well, 2 minutes. I said, I'll have a quick chat with them, and should we go somewhere else? And he was like, no, no, no. There's a bunch of people who want to meet you. And my dad had flown over to see the show, and he was like standing in the bar. And it took me half an hour to get to him because people just wanted to talk about it, you know? And I thought, I think in my mind, because of who I am and where I'm from and all of that, and having that little chip on your shoulder, you think people are going to think that you think you're better than you are. Everyone jokes about the RSC bow where you come out, thank you, darling. Oh, what me? Oh, all of that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? That everyone jokes about that. Um, but then when I met those people, I was like, you know what it is? Like I've just done something there that
Hmm.
they've thoroughly enjoyed and been moved by and have been part of the story. They were part of the story in the boxing match. They are in the ring with you, and
Hmm.
what a great place to be, and how it's almost a privilege to be able to be that person who does that. So I'm like, I've never had any airs or graces. I like getting on with stuff. I like getting stuff on his feet, and I like working. And um, for years and years, I did have that imposter syndrome. But I was talking about this the other day. I'm like, you know what it is, and we all kind of have it up here when you hear a posh voice of people coming from somewhere else, or somebody who seems to be more certain of themselves. It's like I am no longer in that place. I'm no longer in that place. I still, if somebody comes up and goes, "Oh, you're fantastic," I still go, "Oh, well, thank you."
Yeah, you don't know what to say.
Yeah, but at least I say thank you now, because in days gone by or years gone by, I used to be like, "All right," and just toddle off and be away from it. And I think no, because I would do that to someone if someone, it didn't matter where they're from, if I'd seen something that was great, I'd go up and go, that was fantastic, thank you so much, and then you might have a conversation. So I had it for a long time, and I had different issues with mental health as well, and I think that got in the way of things. That would almost stop me from accepting what I do. But I'm in a much better place now for it. Yeah,
Have seen, because that's where, you know, it's like the Americas Hollywood, isn't it? It's a bit like, oh, you need to go there, you need to be in that scene, you need to be. But I think the Northeast has so much to offer. It's such an untapped potential of
yeah,
creativeness. What do you think the biggest barriers are for creatives up here, and how have you managed that?
yeah. I mean, I think funding is always going to be a thing, isn't it? You know, I'm talking about Carrie and David and having 9 days to put a show on. It's just insane. And I think I was like that when I was younger. You know, thinking I've got to move down there, and that's the place you should be. I think now there are more opportunities up here. There might not be loads of money or loads of funding, but when I started, you had live theatre, you had Northern Stage, and Northern Stage, like historically, used to have the ensemble, and usually the same actors. Live theatre was used, 90% of the same actors constantly. You had the Customs House, which was the place that would give you an opportunity. That's when I first started. I did a play there, and they would try different people. But I think out of hard times that new theatres popped up and new companies, people just trying their own stuff, and the alphabetis of this
Mm.
world,
Yeah.
where somehow you get theatre done. And I think for me now, I do work away from time to time, but it's everyone from down south talks about how amazing the Northeast is. Everybody I work with, as a place and as people, they love being here. They absolutely love being here. So I think it's for me now, and it's the thing with it's the same thing with Carrie and David, and I'm going to be doing the Moth again next year, and that will go to London, and they wanted to go elsewhere, and if it does, that's brilliant. But I think there's a real thing about pushing some of our work the other way, and I think I have definitely learned from working with actors all over the UK,
Mm.
and that's a brilliant thing. I think we don't close ourselves off from stuff. That's important, not to close yourself off and just be well, we're going to do this and we're going to create this and we're not going to listen to anybody else. But I think it's having that realization of we create really good stuff up here, so let's take it elsewhere. And there are ways to do it. There's definitely ways to do it. It's not easy, but I've just read today on Facebook, Jerry and Sewell's going to the West End, and that started at Laurels with 60 people watching it,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, so it is achievable. But I think you're right. There are so many great talents up here, and I think people from the northeast, or they're not kind of scared of it. They're not scared of it now. I think we know what we can produce. And it should work both ways. It's still not equal. I think it's still one of the regions that is left behind a bit. But I think
Definitely.
that's changing, and I think it will keep changing.
It's exciting. I think the future is exciting for the Northeast, because we are gonna. I think we will become a northern powerhouse in
Yeah,
time. Funding isn't there, and funding will always
yeah,
probably be a struggle in comparison to London. But I think it could be where there's more shows come up here to start up here. I
yeah,
just think there's so much potential here, and I just it's just something I was curious about. And one thing that you mentioned in the form that was said is at the start is that you've recently been diagnosed with ADHD.
yes,
Was it
yeah.
recently diagnosed? It was, yeah.
Just in the past couple of weeks, yeah, yeah,
So I mean, historically, neurodivergent issues for people, in our age category tends to be diagnosed as adults, because it's not really, the understanding wasn't there when we were younger, and
yeah.
the way to actually judge it wasn't really there. But when did you notice that your brain there was just something a little bit different about how you thought, and on top of that, did you think it shifted your perspective on creativity?
Yeah. I mean, I think that my wife is a psychologist,
Mm.
but weirdly enough, well, not weirdly enough, I think that's made me probably not open up as much to her because I still have that, it's where you come from, that you've just got to get on with it, and you've got to have that stiff upper lip and just, I've never liked a fuss. I've never liked a fuss in the rehearsal room.
Yeah.
Um, just just like I'm fine. Let's get on with stuff. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's a lot of the time that's it's not the right thing to do because if you're tired or if you're not quite with it, then having a break or just doing something else is probably a good thing to do. I think I've always known as an adult that I've struggled with. I think what I was talking about earlier on about the structures and adulthood and what what this society that's been created for us. I've always struggled with it. When I left school, I didn't have a clue what I was supposed to be doing. And it didn't mean I was bad at school, but I just didn't quite have the the brain to kind of process it, and I never have had. But what it's meant over the years is that I've struggled and I've put myself down and thought I was thick, or I was lazy, or I wasn't committed, and I've never fronted up to it. No, I speak about this now. It's not that I go up to people and go, "Oh, I've had mental health problems," but I don't mind. I don't mind talking about it because actually, people will have this view of you, and I think over the years, this is and even when I told somebody I was ADHD the other day, they were, "Well, you don't seem like a person who would have ADHD," because on the outside, I would look to them as normal, whatever normal is, and good at communicating, and I get on with people and all of these things. But I know in the past I've probably had people within work situations, if I've been late or not quite known what was happening, who might think, well, he's lazy and there's something wrong with him. And I've struggled for years. I struggle with sleep because my mind is always ticking over. So I'll get one thought before bedtime and my whole body could be absolutely worn out, but
Mm.
my brain will keep ticking over and I can't get
Yeah.
sleep. So then I'll be trying to tell myself to go to sleep and it's impossible. So I've known for years and years and years that there's been issues, but I had no idea what it was.
Mm.
And then my wife said, I think you're ADHD, And I could feel inside of me, I was like, mm. And I said, I don't want to be labelled. I don't want to be labelled because I feel if I'm labelled, then people will think there's something wrong and I'm different, and I'm not. I can get on with stuff. Um, but we had a chat about it, and I said, you know what, I'll take the test. Let me take
Mm.
the test. And I took the test, and yeah, I was really high up on the scale. I was like, all right, okay. Everything that I've seen on that bit of paper rings true. So, okay, what do I do? What do I do next? And I went to the GP, and that was a funny experience because he said, "Oh, well, you've got this for." And I got quite angry, and I said, "Yeah, I'm still alive. There's been times where I didn't think I would be, so I've got this for despite something happening." And then I joined a group, and which has just finished, and the few of us chatting about stuff, and it was all starting to make sense. And it's like, right, I get it, because the gaps between the creative work, I'd be trying to do stuff and I could never get anything done. Like I'd be the type of person who, right, I'm going to play the guitar today, and I've got that thing to do, and I would try nine things and not get one done. Instead of going, oh, I'll try and get one thing done. And I always thought there's something wrong with me, but now it makes sense. So I had a session with a psychiatrist, and I went into it thinking he's just going to say at the end of this, there's nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with you. Get on with your life. And at the end of it, he said, "Yeah, you're definitely ADHD, and this is what I think we should do." And he talked about a coach, and he talked about some medication, and we went through it. And I was always very reticent about medication as well. I was like, I don't want to take medication. I took medication for migraine once when I was doing Billy Elliot in at Leicester Curve. It made me so drowsy, and everyone was dancing around and kicking the height, and I was like, I've got to come off this medication because
Yeah.
I can't cope. Everyone's like 100 miles an hour, and I was just sitting there with drool coming out of my mouth. So I always found it, I've been at odds with it, but I said to him, I said, no, I'm prepared to give it a try, because if that can help me with the other parts of my life without affecting what I do as a job and what I do every day, then I'm willing to do it. And when he said it, I was very relieved, and I almost started crying because I didn't
Mm.
expect to say it, and it was
Yeah.
almost like, oh wow, somebody gets it. I knew it, but I didn't tell anybody because I was just like, I've got to get on with it. You just got to get on with life, and you have to, you know, even if you struggle, you just have to do it. Um, but it explains quite a bit now, and I'm a boxercise coach. I've got a PT qualification, and I do a class on a Wednesday at Live Theatre. So some of the girls who work at Live Theatre come and do a bit of boxing. And I was talking to Becky on Wednesday because I did the Christmas show there last year, and she was the director. And I just said to her, now that I'm diagnosed with ADHD, I just need to explain something from last year, where from 1 week's rehearsal, the time had changed on a morning from 10 to 9:30, and it had been mentioned. But in my brain, that is containing so much information, it completely went out the other ear. And for a week, I was turning up at the wrong time, but nobody said anything
Yeah.
until until Karen, the actress, went at the end of the week. By the way, you're late, you know. And I was like, no, I'm not. It's 10 o'clock. And she was like, no, no, we're supposed to be in at 9:30, but we
But
didn't
no
get
one
another
mentioned
message
it.
about it. You know what I mean? And I was like, you probably were so pissed off with me at the time. And she said, but you know what? Now that we know that you're ADHD, we make allowances for that. And I was like, this is exactly the type of thing that I've always wanted to avoid because I've always thought I should be doing something by myself. But because
Do the best.
I've learned about dopamine levels and all of that,
Yeah.
and ADHD people lack dopamines. It's why you want these big hits, but the mundane tasks are really really hard to do. And time management. In my head, I think I'm going to get there in 5 minutes. It probably takes half an hour to get there, but now I understand it, and I'm getting to realize more and more what it is. And people say that in general, ADHD people are very creative people, and have lots of imagination and stuff. And some people talk about superpowers, and it's like, yeah, but superpowers. I would really like to be able to do the normal stuff and form filling and tax things and for
Yeah.
that to be clear. You know what I mean? And I just think now that I know what it is, I'm really comfortable with it. And I think it's going to help me in everyday life, but I think it's going to help me as an actor and performer as well, because I know where I'm coming from, and I know the timeouts when I probably need to walk away and go, okay, instead of being all stuck and like, no, let's do it again. No, no, no,
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm really really happy, and I hope that I'd be able to help other people with it as well, because I've got a I would really like to help working class actors. I'd really like to work with more people, and especially working class lads. To know it's all right. It's all right to do this stuff, and actually, it's pretty cool. It's really,
Yeah.
really cool. And then
Yeah.
anyone with mental health issues, I think I could be a good sort of sounding board.
Mm.
Because I've kind of dealt with it silently for a long, long time, but now I'm like, okay, I know what it is now. I can
Mm.
move forward.
No, it's
So
really
I'm quite
good.
happy I've got it. Not happy I've got it. I've got the confirmation that I've got it. Yeah.
Do you know the worst part is the other actors that were in that play probably just thought, oh, he thinks he's big time now. He can just turn up when he wants. It's on Ricky time.
I know. I had no idea. And actually, when I turn up on time, I'm pretty chuffed with myself because I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got here on time. Despite myself, I'm here on time. I was half an hour late.
So just before we wrap up, because I'm conscious that obviously you need to go for the school run, and so do I.
Yeah.
I just want one final question is just when someone finishes listening to this is going to be kind of like a standard question I have with all guests because I just think it's a really nice finish. When someone listens back to this, like, what's the one thing that you want them to take away?
I think it's probably something I've alluded to already, that um, you can do this. You can do this sort of thing. And that sometimes it's a struggle. But sometimes being in this business is a struggle, but actually it's really rewarding. It's really rewarding when you can do it, and you can't do it all the time, and sometimes you have to look for other things to do, but actually it's to keep on being creative. I've had people say this to me before, like when I've been through a dry spell, and everyone does, and you think everybody else is working, but actually it's like, find something to do, find something to be creative, write something. If you've had that thing down, write it. That's how I got into stand up. I just started doing it and took a course, and before I knew it, I was doing 1 hour shows at festivals and taking it to Edinburgh and doing a mini tour of it. but knowing that I didn't want to do it forever, but it's just that, what I've done in the past is I kind of closed myself off when things weren't going well, and it was exactly the wrong thing to do. What I should have been doing is getting in touch with other actors and friends and saying, "Do you want to meet up and do some stuff?" So I really feel if I can do it, and I can get to a level where I'm good at it. Just despite the issues that I've had, that it can be done. Yeah, yeah. Something. Even me now, saying these words, I'm thinking, who do I think I am? That's my brain going, who do you think you are? But I would love to. I like talking to people about this sort of stuff, and if I can be even in a tiny way a bit of inspiration to somebody, I'd be really happy about that.
I always think that's the best way, is that even if you can help one person, then you've succeeded. You've done it. Like
Yeah.
that's it's helping that one person at a time. And if it's more than that, then brilliant. But
Yes.
I think that's a really nice thing to take away, is that everyone can do it. Keep being creative. These are really, really good things to hear. We've reached the end. But I just want to say what a massive privilege it was to have you on. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully you have as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on, Micky.
Thank you. You're welcome. I really enjoyed it. I love having a chat, and that's not just me being ADHD. I love having a chat.
Right, that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Micky, and I'll catch you in a little
Cheers,
while.
mate. Thank you, mate. All the best.
Thanks, bye.